but does not plan to occupy the territory when the fighting ends.
Israel will take any measures in order to destroy Hamas, but we have no intention to stay permanently in Gaza Strip.
This comes as the humanitarian crisis in Gaza grows, with daily fighting claiming more than 17,000 lives, according to the Hamas-run health ministry. A shortage of food, water, and other supplies has led to growing criticism against both Israel and the American government for its support. Israel has announced it is opening a second crossing to inspect cargo entering the Strip, a step meant to increase the amount of aid coming in. During a Hanukkah reception at the White House yesterday, President Biden said his commitment to the Jewish state is unshakable.
We have to be careful. We have to be careful. The whole world's public opinion can shift overnight. We can't let that happen.
The United Nations will hold an emergency meeting today where 193 member nations will vote on a resolution demanding an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The U.S. vetoed a similar proposal in the 15-member Security Council late last week, but today's vote is not legally binding, and no one country has veto power.
In terms of who the new government not be Hamas and not be hostile toward the state of Israel. It happened in the Bronx. Investigators don't know yet what caused the corner of a 6-story residential building to crumble. First responders into Monday evening used dogs to help look through the rubble 12 feet high in some spots for anyone who may have been trapped. New York fire officials confirm no one was found under the rubble. Authorities call it miraculous that there were no severe injuries from the partial collapse. Only a couple minor injuries from the earlier evacuation were reported.
You know, plus that you're safe, but you're definitely thinking we lived here for 12 years. So, it's sad to see everybody in there going through that. We're happy that we're getting out of there, kind of, because it was a mess. We went through it for a long time now.
Humanitarian crisis worsens. The ground offensive intensifies with more airstrikes and artillery fire. Hamas also firing rockets towards central Israel, causing some damage in a suburb of Tel Aviv. Today, Israel said it's prepared to fight for months or even longer to defeat Hamas. Hostages are still being held. The White House says it's looking into concerning reports that Israel used white phosphorus in a bombing attack in Lebanon.
United Nations officials are warning that the humanitarian crisis is on the verge of collapse. The director of the World Food Program says there's not enough food and that people are starving. The European Union's top diplomat called the situation apocalyptic, with destruction, quote, greater than Germany in World War II. According to the Palestinian Ministry of Health in the West Bank, more than 18,000 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli bombardments since October 7th. Revised death toll in Israel stands at just over 1,100. Fox's Trey Yingst is in southern Israel with more.
Israeli forces ramping up attacks on remaining Hamas strongholds in southern Gaza on Monday and backing their ground campaign with airstrikes. It comes as troops continue battling Hamas around Gaza City and the Jabalia neighborhood in the northern part of Gaza. Hamas is also firing rockets toward central Israel, causing some damage in a suburb of Tel Aviv. Despite the increased fighting, the Biden administration says efforts are still underway to return to a pause in the war.
We think it's still valuable. We want to get one back because we want to get those hostages out.
Israeli officials say more than 100 hostages are still being held by Hamas in Gaza. Over the weekend, Hamas threatened to kill those remaining hostages unless Israel meets its latest demands for more aid and prisoner exchanges.
They're implying that they want a ceasefire. If they have a hostage exchange, they're going to a ceasefire. They want to stop the bloodshed that they're suffering as a result of it.
More humanitarian aid is entering southern Gaza through the Rafah border crossing on Monday, but UN officials say relief is still in short supply. It's raising concerns there about the spread of disease and malnutrition.
Hunger is prevailing in Gaza. More and more people haven't eaten for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days.
Meanwhile, Israeli officials say dozens of Hamas militants surrendered to the IDF. In southern Israel, Trey Yingst, Fox News.
Inaugurated Argentine President Javier Milei warned of a sharp and painful economic shock to come for the country in his maiden speech on Sunday. The political newcomer, who rose to power advocating a shock to the system, said there was no alternative to fix Argentina's economy, with inflation heading towards 200%.
Today begins a new era for Argentina. Today we end a long and sad history of decline and decay and begin the road to rebuilding our country. There is no turning back.
Milei's speech was light on details, but he said key steps would include a fiscal adjustment equivalent to 5% of GDP that would fall on the state, not the private sector. While his shock therapy economic plan has gone over well with investors and could stabilize the economy, it risks pushing more people into hardship. Over 2/5 of Argentines are already in poverty. The former TV pundit, who shot to fame with expletive-ridden tirades against his rivals, takes over from an unpopular outgoing center-left president. But Milei will still need to negotiate with rivals in Congress, where his libertarian coalition only has a small bloc. He's allied with the main conservative grouping and has moderated his tone in the last few weeks. Milei packed his first cabinet with mainstream conservatives and has put more radical ideas like dollarization onto the back burner. The challenges Milei faces are huge. Argentina's net foreign currency reserves are estimated at $10 billion in the red, with annual inflation surging and a recession around the corner.
All praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh. That's the Hebrew name who we call God or Jesus in the English tongue. But the real, true Paleo-Hebrew name of the Lord and Savior is Yahweh and His Son Yahweh. Today, we're just going to talk about, the Egyptians, as the Lord had said that He was going to take these nations down and plead for His people Israel. Okay, and we see what's going on throughout the world. Just countries are just, losing power, and the Most High promised to take these countries down. Okay, so let's read Isaiah chapter 19. It says, "The burden of Egypt, behold, the Lord rideth upon a swift cloud." So the Lord is riding in the cloud in the chariots. Okay, a dish-shaped aircraft. Okay, that cloaks itself in the sky or in the clouds. And it say, "And it shall come to Egypt, into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. And I will set the Egyptian against the Egyptians, and they shall fight every one against his brother, and every one against his neighbor, city against city." So so this is talking about civil war that is going to take place. It says, "Kingdom against kingdom, and the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to the idols, and to the chambers, and to them that have familiar spirits, and to the wizards. And the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord, Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh." Okay, so the Lord is cruel, and a fierce king shall rule over them, said the Lord of hosts. And the water shall fail from the sea, and the river shall be wasted and dried up. And they shall turn the rivers far away, and the brooks of defense shall be emptied and dried up. The reeds and flags shall wither. The paper reeds by the brooks, by the mouth of the brooks, and everything sown by the brooks shall wither, be driven away, and be no more. So the Lord is going to bring a heavy destruction and heavy judgment on America. So he said he's going to put Egyptian against Egyptian, and every Egyptian against his brother and neighbor. So we got to prepare yourself and get spiritually fed by this word before the civil war break out,